Right. So, as part of our Guidewire configuration is concerned, today we are going to discuss about underwriting issues, because as in when whenever we are working on the Guidewire, especially from the configuration point of view, it's always important for us to understand about the configuration rules, regulations, right? So, in the last session, I have discussed even about the data model and how these data model configurations can be done, right? So all these things were discussed in the last session. Today I'm going to discuss about underwriting issues, like what are the different entities that are relating to underwriting issues. Whenever we are working on the configuration side, this is something which normally are we uh, trying to learn today. Okay, now I'm explaining from the pictorial representation point of view, because this is not something to explain from the theory perspective, because in the previous sessions I have explained that to you. But pictorial representation and understanding from the pictorial point of view is always required. You need to know about that. So pictorial representation is important, right? So how this can be presented, right? So all these things you must be knowing. In this regard, this is how generally the pictorial representation will be, right? So first of all, when we are trying to understand about entities that are relating to the underwriting issues and all everything, first we need to understand what are the different elements that are related here. Means, let's say either it can be policy, it can be policy period, or it can be referral reasons, right? So you must be knowing about these things well in advance. So let me right. So this is where generally the policy was, right? So this is where the generally the policies we have. So at the same time, we need to create a policy period over here, right? So policy period, right? So policy period is something which is relating over here. Next, we must be knowing about the issue history, right? So what are the different underwriting issues histories we have? Okay, for example, underwriting issue history is something which we are taking over here. Okay, right. So underwriting, yeah, underwriting issue history is something we have taken here uh, from the policies point of view, right? So what are the policy periods point of view, all that stuff. Next, we must be knowing about what are the different referral reasons we have. Okay, that also we need to take. So this referral reasons, majorly underwriting referral reasons I'm talking about, because especially from the business analyst point of view, it is always important for us to understand about how this referral reasons works, right? So what are the functionalities that are required, right? And how this can be configured. Everything we must be knowing. Okay, we must be knowing about the policy. We must be knowing about what are the different issues we have, right? So, for example, issue history, right? So, when you're talking about issue history, let's say, for example, we have a key, right? So, issue history key is there, right? So, right. So, for example, here, right? So, issue history key we have, right? So, yeah. So, issue history we have issue history key can be created, right? So, because, for example, here in this issue history, for example, we are creating some issue keys or something we are creating. Next, when it comes to the underwriting referral reasons and all everything. So these referral reasons must be connecting to the different areas where we need to understand about what are the different underwriting issue types, everything. That's something which we must be knowing. Okay, so underwriting uh, issue types. Issue type is something which we need to know, right? So underwriting issue type, something which we must be knowing. Next, we need to know about the underwriting issues from the policy period point of view. Okay, so whatever the underwriting issue we have, so that we can take it, right? So underwriting issues can also be taken over here, right? So these are the different major elements wherein we need to know. Now, whenever there are entities which we need to understand from the relations point of view, where these policies must be connecting to the policy histories, whatever are something which normally we will be using, right? So whatever the issues we have, right? So whatever the policy issue underwritings we have, right? So whatever the policy history updations you are going to do, right? So everything we need to be updated, right? So for example, here we are updating these as the issue histories. Okay, for example, here. Uh, yeah. So issue histories is something which we have taken, right? So this is something which we must be knowing. Uh, yeah, yeah. Issues history I have taken. So issue histories is something we need to know, right? So this is the first point we need to know when we're talking about when we are connecting to the history, right? So all these things we need to know about that. Now, whenever we try to understand about the policy point of view, wherein we need to know about the policy period, whatever the required policy periods do we have, everything that we need to be knowing. Right? So what are the different policies we have, right? So everything we must be knowing, right? So different policy periods has to be taken here. That is one of the key and important element. Next, we must be next we must be knowing about the policy when it comes to the referral reasons, when it comes to the underwriting referral reasons are concerned, wherein we must be connecting to the referral reasons over here. This is also one of the key and important element, because when you are talking about underwriting referral reasons and all, this again we can connect these referral reasons to the underwriting issue types. Whatever the issue types do we have, so that we need to connect with. Yeah, so this we need to connect with. Right? In this here we need to write down, because if you're talking about the issue types or something of that sort, here we must be mentioning what are the different names we have, right? So name we must be knowing. We must be knowing about the name. Okay. We must be knowing about the code. We must be knowing about the blocking point. Okay, all these things we have to add it over here, everything, right? So name, code, right? So everything we can add, right? So code we can add, or we can add some blocking points, right? So we can add some blocking points, or if you want to connect any kind of checking sets and all, everything we can say. At the same time, if there is any about comparators and all, everything that we can say. Followed by this, there are restrictions where limit only. So that also can be created. So these are all the different elements when we are talking about the issue types, which has to be issued here. Now, when it comes to the underwriting issues are concerned, because whenever there are any policies we have created, policy period was created over here. So underwriting issue types are something essentially required, so which we must be knowing, right? So different underwriting issues. These underwriting issues can be, for example, we must be knowing about the issue key. Okay, for example, we must be knowing about issue key. And prior to the issue key, I can say, for example, we want to know about approval invalid from, right? So first of all, right? So we must be knowing about this, or else we must be knowing about the issue keys, or else we must be knowing about issue type. Next, we must be knowing about the short description, what is that we need to write, or else we must be knowing about the long description, what is that something we need to write. Next, we need to mention about the values. All these things we have to be mentioned under the policy period. This is something essentially required when we are trying to create all that stuff. Now, whenever we have created an issue history, this is where generally whenever we are going to create any kind of issues histories and all, these issue histories and all, everything we should be connecting to the issue type. That is one of the core and important element one to be known with. So yeah, right. So underwriting issue types where we need to connect with here. So whatever the issue types do we have and all, everything, those issue types we need to mention here. Right. So for example, right, so issue type. right? So this is what generally then issue type is all about, right? The issue type we can mention, right? So what are the different issue types do we have, right? So everything when we can mention here, that is one thing which we can do. So these are the major areas when we are working on the policy center, we must be knowing. In connect to that, we need to know about what are the different rules do we have. Because if you want to have any kind of rules or something like, uh, I can create and separate lifeline where I can write down some rules. Okay, rules can be written. So these rules can be of anything. For example, if it can be name or it can be rule conditions, right? So everything we need to write. Next, we must write even underwriting rules also, because based upon the business rules and government mandates, whatever is required something which normally we need to connect with. So even underwriting rules, whatever we have created and whatever we have connected, so these underwriting rules can be connected here. So this is how generally the entities which are relating to the underwriting issues, something which is essentially required when we are going to create configuration. So when you are working on the configuration point of view, either we are working as a business analyst or a developer or a tester. As far as the configuration point is concerned, underwriting issues are something essentially required and we must be knowing. And this is what and how usually we do the underwriting issues, etc. Now, how this underwriting issues implementation will be taken place and how this can be done, that I'm going to discuss in the next session. Okay.